Welcome back, guys. Today we're off-site and we're at Verg. I'm going to be showing you how a highly automated 4.0 industry works. And we're talking about CNC 3D printers, robots, anything and everything you want. Mamma mia, it's like we're inside Candyland. It really is Candyland. Wow, look at all these. Mamma mia. So, here we are with Matteo. Thanks for opening your company doors to us. Can you tell us a bit about who and what Verg is? How did it come about? And why was Verg founded?
Well, Verg comes from a personal desire and dream, just like all the most important and interesting companies do. It's the result of that dream. I had some pretty negative experiences at the time when I needed to get a CNC. It was tough getting a quote. It was difficult getting parts delivered, so let's say the whole procedure was very complicated. I said, why not build a company that meets my needs? Why not create a product the way I want it? So from this dream came Verg. The first thing was the online quote. One thing, the first ever of its kind.
So getting rid of buying and budgeting conflicts altogether?
Let's say facilitate what was the use of the service to simplify it and make it as straightforward as possible. Not something for super experts anymore. In this sector, there was almost the idea of having a reversed relationship. That is, it's not the the supplier who serves the client, but the client is at the service of the supplier's needs. And I wanted to change that. Getting online quotes has been the biggest game changer that has, in fact, given the company momentum. And it's making it difficult for our customers to go back to traditional methods.
Also, because the online quota lets you handle large numbers of orders, what kind of numbers are we talking about? Can you give us a few numbers?
Well, let's just say there are about 20,000 quotes a day. And obviously there's no way that any human being, not even a team of 50 people, could possibly prepare 20,000 quotes in a day. And I have to say that while visiting other companies, I've realized that they are using our system as their benchmark. In other words, to give quotes to their customers, they're using our quote system because it's faster, quicker.
A benchmark, practically.
That's right. I'll have to start charging for rentals.
Here, behind you, what do we have? I can see a big screen up there with green and yellow bars.
Yes. So that represents how the machines have been used in the last 24 hours. Basically, all the green means that in the last 48 hours, the green says what percentage in the last 48 hours the machine has been up and running and producing parts.
In other words, the system we can see, does it work 24/7, 7 days a week?
Yes, it works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The structure you see here has 10 hair mill 5-axis continuous milling machines. 2 lines of 5 machines are operated by a robotic arm that loads and unloads the pieces automatically.
So even without an operator, the machine runs automatically?
Right now, you can see that all the machines are going and there is a single operator running 10 5-axis continuous milling machines. You can see this kind of setup at the British Aerospace in England, and you can see it at General Electric in the United States. And of course, we're here as well. So let's just say we seem to be in good company in terms of the level of technology.
So 2 lines total 5 and 5. We have 10 machines. With how many tools working?
Well, as you can see here, already from this first machine here in front, there are 2 tool towers which have been optimized to hold 600 tools, let's say, roughly.
600? So all finishing processes?
That's right. We never change the tools. If you go to a traditional workshop, you'll notice that the machine has just a few tools inside, a dozen or so. And other tools are nearby with a post-it saying when they have to be mounted by the operator. Clearly, the parts are made the same, but from a human error point of view, our way of making parts in practice reduces the possibility of human error to 0. Then the thing about having only 5-axis continuous milling machines, it's true that you don't always need to have 5-axis continuous milling machine to make parts. However, 5-axis continuous milling machine does inherently allow you to offer higher precision and a better surface quality finish.
In terms of materials and finishes for the CNC parts, what can you offer your customers?
Well, we've got a pretty wide range of the most used materials. We've got 3 choices of aluminium, 5082, 6083, 7075. Then we have 3 types of steel, copper, bronze. We have some plastics as well.
I saw a Teflon bar turn earlier.
Yes, let's say that we have all the materials for our calibrations, and this lets us have a reasonably linear workflow. In fact, there are a lot of materials available. Still, we limit ourselves to materials that we are sure we can get good results from fairly quickly and without any tolerance or other problems.
Great. What is that we can see behind you?
Here you can see some of our 500 clamps.
500?
Yes, a small part of the 500 clamps we use. Of course, having a non-stop working cycle and considering that the machines with anthropomorphs have an internal storage.
Oh, okay.
So, loaded clamps with unfinished pieces should be loaded up to 300 and 400 inside of the
production line.
Of the production line. Then they are loaded from time to time, and this is necessary to make a buffer. Even these clamps are only used on one line because the second line, which is more modern, does not use clamps. The clamps are directly on the base plate, so the pieces are loaded from the dies automatically into the machine base plate, which further increases the level of precision. Something placed by hand is obviously less precise than something done by a robot.
In fact, I saw a guy earlier preparing all of the aluminium bars. You have this nice, enormous tower with the loading that shows you how much material is stored. That connects with the orders office, purchasing for when you have finished the material. So it's all highly automated to reduce time, costs, of course, and it's all to benefit the customer.
That's correct. In fact, as you noticed, there is an automatic vertical warehouse where we can already choose the raw materials in the required size without having to look for them or walk around the hall or have to make them especially. And this allows us to speed up the workflow and be more efficient. We are now in the adjustment department. This means that in this department, all the CNC parts that need to have burrs removed or finishes applied, such as shot peening, we have patented our lancet shot peening, which also improves the mechanical characteristics of the parts, and all of these processes are carried out in this room.
Okay, one thing I'm missing that I haven't seen yet, I haven't seen any heat treating ovens.
We don't do heat treatments.
Let's talk about Verg. You may think CNC, but really, tell me a little about this. Over the last couple of years, you don't just have a CNC, but you also have the whole 3D printing part. Can you tell me something about when this whole thing started?
So, Verg was founded in late December 2015, so let's say 2016. In 2016, we started as CNC. Not because I didn't love 3D, I already had 3 3D printers at home, but because I felt that at the moment, at that specific moment in history, there weren't any 3D machines capable of generating a profit. They were very interesting, very exciting, very tempting and inspiring, but from a purely practical point of view...
Mass production. We weren't there yet.
No, we weren't there, and so we started with the CNC, which in any case still accounted for something interesting.
First of all, you moved. You were in a much smaller space than this before, right?
Yes. No, I mean, let's say we were upwards of 3,600 meters.
Well, compared to this here, it's still much bigger.
Yes, let's say that at the beginning, having taken only one machine, the initial space was absolutely sufficient.
I see a few machines back there. Please, walk me through the adventure with HP and show me the fleet. I think it's one of the biggest in Europe, right? It is the biggest in Europe.
It's the biggest in Europe for this machine model, which is the latest HP machine model, the 5210.
Ah, the 5210, not the 5200, then the
So
5210.
there are two models. The 5200, let's say, is the one they call
Commercial.
commercial. The 5210 would be the Pro one, which has a number of advantages in terms of
Okay,
use.
all right, so it's different then.
It's different. It's more advanced model, more industrial.
Anyway, we'll be showing it in a dedicated video with Andrea, which will explain everything in detail.
When, as I said before, we started with the CNC because I didn't see any possibility of profit from the point of view of the machines that were available at the time. When HP came out, I actually started to see that something could be done with this type of machine. Not only was it very fast, but it also produced a good product at an interesting cost. So I said to myself, why not try it out? HP is a very flexible and intelligent partner with a great intellectual honesty that makes it very easy to work with them.
Okay,
The result was that after 1 month after the first machine, which was the first installed in Italy,
you had the 4200, right?
the 4200, we bought 2 more, and just 3 months later we had 6.
In fact, see behind you, a string of printing jobs waiting to be downloaded.
Yes, I know. We've even lost count of how many boxes we have and how
Let
many...
me take me inside. I'd like to see the whole thing.
In this room you can see 2 things fundamentally. The cooling stations that are designed to take the parts out of the build that have just been printed. We don't really use them anymore since we do the cooling naturally.
So this rack that I see here,
Exactly.
it's all natural cooling?
All natural cooling. Why do we do natural cooling and we don't use the cooling stations? It takes 48 hours here, and with the cooling stations it takes 4 or 6. However, the mechanical characteristics of the parts are completely different. There can be warping problems. There can be dimensional stability problems. So we have chosen to offer our customers something that costs more for us but offers a much better mechanical and structural result.
You've got so many machines that you can manage to run other jobs anyway.
Definitely.
So you can guarantee delivery in 24, 48 hours?
No, we deliver in 3 days.
3 days.
Because in any case it takes about 48 hours to cool, and the time to extract the pieces and clean them. These are not only used as cooling stations but also for extracting parts. Why don't we use them in both ways? Because we use an automatic system to pull the pieces out.
This here, you were telling me, is actually a preview of what you can show us.
This wasn't just that. We tested it as a beta for 6 months. Plus, this is the first definitive one installed. This is a machine that...
Unloads?
That's right. It loads the build and does a thorough cleaning of the pieces. Completely automatic in about 20 minutes, and with a much better quality than that.
Yes, now let's get moving. But remember that in the next video, I'll explain all these steps in detail. You'll see a dedicated video on the MJF press. Look at that. Are there 12 here?
Here we have 10, but if you look at the bottom, there are
2 holes ready to go.
2 holes ready for the last 2 that should come in.
So let's take this opportunity to remind HP to deliver. Tell us very briefly why then you've chosen HP. I assume for a question of speed and mainly because of its reliability. So reliability during the process, right?
I chose HP because there are no other choices. If you want to get a good product at a reasonable cost with 3D printing. HP is also a real partner, easy to work with, and has really given us a huge hand in achieving these goals. We've tried other technologies as well, but it has to be said that what you get with HP in terms of tolerances, production capacity, there are no hassles. It is clearly above any other technology. There's just no...
Okay, to manage 12 machines, I mean, I see a person who's working on the builds, managing the builds. I saw a guy opening the machines, cleaning them. There he is. We can see him down there cleaning the machine. After that, how many people does it actually take you to manage this 3D printing plant? Two. So even here, 24 hours a day?
That's right, exactly.
2 people, that's impressive, really impressive. Here we can see the other jobs ready to go. That is the other builds ready to be loaded into the machine and then printed. So there's already powder inside. Because let's remember, these are powder printers. And let's face it, they can run at full volume.
Absolutely.
So it's not like FDM or resin where you're forced to print on a flat surface, but we work at full print volume.
One thing to keep in mind is that we really do offer a wide range of HP materials, because we don't only have the PA11 and PA12 that are the classics.
They're also nylon. Let's talk about nylon.
There's also nylon, exactly, but we also have polypropylene and recently also glass-field PA12. So we have a spectrum of materials that can really cover a wide range of needs of designers and engineers.
So from CNC we move on to aluminium, titanium, steel, copper and so on. Then we get to PA12, PA11, PA11 with glass spheres, in other words polypropylene. That is, whoever works with Verg has practically all the materials and technology at their disposal, right?
Let's say that we wanted to offer all the materials that offer reliability and reasonable prices. And we've left out all the materials that are tens, if not hundreds, of niche materials, which would limit production and would limit the knowledge of the material itself, and therefore could lead customers to receive products not meeting their needs. On the materials we offer with HP, we have absolute confidence, and we actually have 0.1 to 0.2 of problems. Keep in mind that with these machines, we can reach production peaks of 24 to 25,000 pieces a day.
No, say that again. 25,000 pieces? It's already a lot if I can normally make 20 pieces in a day with a printer, but with your system, you can make 25,000 pieces just for the 3D portion? Since there's also the whole CNC part after that, it could add up.
So, considering that we also have FDM, and so we are familiar with the production capacities of the FDM, rather than the SLA, a single machine of these produces, on average, as many as 30 FDM or resin machines. So if you calculate that there are 10, it's as if we had 300 FDM. But also keep in mind that there is optimization, and probably 500 FDM machines would not be enough to produce what we produce with these 10 machines. Now, let's go into the finishing department. The parts that come out of the HP 3D printers are covered in dust from construction, and it has to be cleaned. We use 2 or 3 different technologies to get rid of it. In each case, spheres of compressed air shoot over the parts to clean them without affecting tolerances or mechanical properties. This is a part as it comes out of the build. You can see that there is still some residue, and to get rid of this residue, they are shot peened with this.
Let's say that this is the only partially automated process, because here I can see a basket turning. In reality, however, there's always an operator's presence.
Absolutely, yes. There are pieces like this one, for example, which is destined. These are semi-spheres that will go to the bottom of the ocean to capture neutrinos, and we are making thousands of them. They will go to oceans all over the world. It's a project that even the most prominent newspapers have talked about. This not only proves the versatility of 3D printing, but also the durability of 3D printing, considering these semi-spheres are to go to the bottom of the ocean and stay there for years.
So the only part that requires an operator is this one here. So the finishing process and obviously inspection and control, because the parts don't come out unless they are manually controlled by the operator.
They're manually and meticulously checked by operators to ensure they meet customer specifications. They're also cleaned of construction dust.
This is unfinished, right?
And this is unfinished grey, or what we call unfinished grey. And finally, the last stage of production.
Are these the ones we see hanging that have already been varnished? Right?
These were varnished with
These washing machines.
these washing machines that are washing machines, but in reality...
So varnishing is one of your post-production services, practically in addition to peening?
Exactly, that's correct.
Here it is. We have these varnishes here, but mostly black, I suppose.
Yes, because with the grey base, black gives the best results.
And PA absorbs and then nylon usually absorbs.
PA absorbs slightly because it's not an absorbent material, but it absorbs enough to give a very uniform and very aesthetically pleasing texture. And our customers love it. In fact, 80% of the parts are finished with this finish here. PA12 really is an extraordinary material from this point of view. It not only has very interesting mechanical, structural and dimensional characteristics, but it's also extraordinarily suitable for any kind of surface finish.
Talking about large print runs, I saw an option on the site recently called Buy the Job. Can you explain a little bit about how this works?
This is one thing, a service designed mainly for other companies that have HPs and perhaps do not have the material available at that moment or have their machines otherwise employed. We provide these companies that already have nesting software and are mainly companies that already have HP in-house, but for a series of reasons still believe that it's better economically to make the pieces with us.
Really? And as far as printing goes, it's even cheaper for those who need multiple pieces at this point.
Well, a very peculiar phenomenon happened because when we started with 3D printing, 85% of what we were making were prototypes and only 15% were actual print runs. Now this percentage has been completely reversed. Prototypes haven't decreased, the absolute quantity is always the same, but they've become 15% of our production.
Really? We're here behind you. We can see something familiar, in the sense I see races and also FDM technology. So not only multi-jet fusion, but also FDM.
We wanted to see if there was a possibility of giving customers materials that couldn't be otherwise obtained in any other way than with FDM printers. So we started with rays, which has given us good results, I must say. At the moment, we're using it for manufacturing parts.
What materials are you currently using?
So, the first material we made available to customers was Extreme Carbon Plus PA12. It's a material, it's a PA12 with carbon fibre that provides excellent results in terms of mechanical strength, in addition to being very lightweight. It's a material that we introduced a few weeks ago, and we're starting to get positive feedback from customers. In fact, after the first initial machine, as you can see, we're now at 1, 2, 3 and 4.
4, exactly.
We plan to not only add more materials that can only be made with FDM, of course after testing, but we want to also increase the installed base of FDM machines. We believe that for certain niche applications they are essential.
Great. In that doorway where there's a guy cleaning with the sink, I still haven't gone in there. What goes on in there?
It's a good thing you didn't go in there. It's full of resin machines, so the air quality inside isn't exactly the best.
It's extremely warm.
We added resin about a year ago, and again as something more for our customers, especially those needing detail, definition,
so primarily model making,
things like that. And now we're also considering, along with our research and development department, other materials offering better mechanical characteristics with other resins. We want to see if we can meet high temperature resistance requirements rather than just mechanical resistance.
Here we're entering the furnace. It's practically scorching.
Actually, these machines should work at a temperature of 30 degrees Celsius, so whatever the season is, it's always 30 degrees in here. The advantage is the air is like that, but it's the quietest room there is. In fact, none of the machines make any noise.
Here you have a variety of dimensions, some smaller and some larger.
6 are running, but there's no noise, not a sound. We're testing new materials in some of them, and...
I mean, fantastic. And here, how many do you have? 12, 13?
3, 6, 9, 10, 11...
That's a lot. Anything more than 3 is already a lot.
Let's say there are 17.
Okay.
17.
How are you getting on with the resin in the end? Well?
The problem is always the comparison with HP. HP is user-friendly to the nth degree. You don't need skilled operators, you don't need to know the guidelines or anything like that. Actually, they are machines that you just buy and send to print. Here you need expertise, you need know-how, you need preparation. Setting up the supports is not always easy, and the shape of the object can influence the final result. So you need very specific skills that HP doesn't have. On top of that, production capacity is far lower. So we are fascinated by these machines. They deliver a product that is absolutely unique and not available with other technology. But of course, these machines require technical expertise.
Be careful, like all the makers currently watching know this very well.
Everybody knows that, that's right.
Thanks, Matteo, an amazing company. In fact, I hope that all of you watching liked it too. Matteo, could you give me your contact details so that I can get a quote? Or how do you get in touch with Verg?
Well, it's very simple. Just type in verg.com and enter our site. If you have a 3D file, you can upload it into the online quota and get your quote. All it takes is about a second.
2 seconds?
And you don't have to register either.
That's right.
So you don't have to leave your email, and you won't be hounded. So
Formatting?
STP or STL for 3D printing and STP for CNC.
Including ages, possibly, or just step?
We prefer just to keep one step,
Perfect.
because we've noticed that, we try to make sure that what comes out is exactly what is.
By the way, a nice little feature. In the CNC quota, you can now also select zones with tolerances, right?
Absolutely. The software automatically detects the zones that can be made with tolerances, and it's up to the customer to click on them to choose what they want, or they don't have to click at all.
I mean, it's insanely simple.
Yes, we've tried to make things as simple as possible, but I won't hide from you that behind that kind of simplicity, there's a huge amount of complexity.
Thank you, Matteo, and thanks to all of you. See you next time.
It's been my pleasure.
Video is done, guys. Fantastic. I really enjoyed doing it. I want to thank Verg so much for giving me the opportunity to come in and show you all these awesome things. Don't miss the next video where I'll show you how to work this big beast back here, the HP 5200. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel and like the video. See you next time. Bye guys.